The Kraxan delegation stood in perfect formation, their crystalline bodies catching the morning sunlight as they regarded the human diplomatic team with barely concealed disdain. Maya Chen fought to keep her expression neutral as the alien leader, High Commander Vexthor, circled her like a predator evaluating its prey. His translucent form towered 3 meters tall, internal lights pulsing with what she had learned to recognize as amusement. This is what Earth sends to negotiate. Scientists in tin cans. Vexthor's words came through the translator with a mechanical precision that did nothing to hide his mockery. His crystalline fingers reached out to tap Maya's chest plate, the sound ringing hollow across the New Mexico desert. We expected warriors, not engineers playing at soldier. Maya remained still, though her hand instinctively wanted to brush away his touch from the armor she'd spent 5 years developing. The other members of the human delegation shifted uncomfortably behind her, but she had earned her place as lead representative. Not just because she had designed the armor they all wore, but because she understood something the Kraxan didn't. True strength rarely announced itself. "We are what humanity needs us to be, High Commander," Maya responded, her voice steady. "Engineers, warriors, diplomats. We adapt as circumstances require." The Kraxan leader's internal lights flickered in what their intelligence suggested was laughter. The other crystalline beings joined in, their bodies creating a symphony of dancing lights that made the desert air shimmer. They had arrived 6 months ago, their massive ships appearing suddenly in Earth's orbit. Their message had been simple: submit or be destroyed. Earth's initial response had been predictable, a show of military force that the Kraxan had brushed aside like swatting insects. Their energy weapons had cut through Earth's most advanced aircraft like paper. Their shields had deflected nuclear strikes without a trace of damage. But they had made one crucial mistake. They had given humanity time to think. Adaptation. Vexthor's translator crackled with genuine curiosity. "Is that what you call this primitive attempt at protection? Our scanners detect nothing but basic metals and crude energy systems. Your species still thinks in terms of simple barriers." Maya felt a smile tugging at her lips, but kept her expression professional. The scanner readings were exactly what she had designed them to show. Perhaps a demonstration would help clarify our position. Vexthor's crystalline form brightened with anticipation. "Yes, let us demonstrate the gulf between our species. It will make the terms of your surrender more palatable." He gestured to his guards, who raised their weapons, elegant crystalline structures that hummed with deadly energy. Maya raised her hand, signaling her team to stand their ground. They had rehearsed this moment countless times, but theory and practice were different beasts. Everything hinged on whether her calculations were correct, whether the thousands of microscopic quantum processors woven throughout their armor would function as designed. "Your terms were clear, High Commander. One demonstration of superior force, and Earth would consider surrender." Maya stepped forward, away from her team. "But you never specified which side needed to demonstrate that force." Vexthor's internal lights pulsed rapidly, a sign of agitation their xenobiologists had identified. "You wish to attack us with these primitive shells?" "No," Maya replied. "I wish you to attack me with your strongest weapon." The alien leader went still, his crystalline form becoming almost transparent, their equivalent of stunned silence. Then his lights began to pulse with that familiar pattern of amusement. "You understand this is not a game. There will be nothing left of you to bury." Maya nodded. "I understand completely. Your strongest weapon, High Commander. Consider it my final request before Earth's surrender." Vexthor's form shifted, internal facets realigning as he raised his own weapon, larger and more intricate than those of his guards. "As you wish, Engineer. Let your death serve as the first lesson in your species' re-education." The weapon powered up with a high-pitched whine that made Maya's teeth ache. She could feel her team's tension, their desire to pull her back, to stop this seemingly suicidal demonstration. But they trusted her. They had to. The blast when it came was beyond anything they had tested against. A beam of pure energy, so bright it turned the morning into midnight by comparison, struck Maya directly in the chest. For a moment, the world went white. Then Maya felt it, the countless quantum processors in her armor spinning to life, each one analyzing, adapting, absorbing. The energy didn't disappear, it transformed. Millions of microscopic circuits rerouted the power, storing it, learning from it. Her armor began to glow, not with heat or damage, but with understanding. When the light faded, Maya stood unchanged. But her armor had changed. Its surface now rippled with patterns that mimicked the crystalline structure of the Kraxan themselves, tiny facets catching the sunlight in exactly the same way as their bodies. Impossible. Vex Thor's translator struggled to convey the depth of shock in his voice. His weapon clattered to the ground, its crystal structure suddenly dark and lifeless. Maya took a step forward, her armor now humming with the same energy frequency as the Kraxan's bodies. Not impossible, High Commander. Inevitable. You see, humanity's greatest strength isn't in our weapons or our defenses. It's in our ability to learn, to adapt, to take what seems impossible and make it routine. She gestured to her armor, where the absorbed energy had created new patterns, new possibilities. Your weapon didn't just fail to destroy this armor. It helped perfect it. Every attack makes it stronger, more efficient, more capable. That's how humanity survives. We don't just endure, we evolve. The desert fell silent as the Kraxan delegation processed what they had witnessed. Maya could see their internal lights pulsing in patterns she had never observed before. Confusion, fear, and something that might have been respect. Perhaps, Vex Thor finally said, his translator struggling to maintain its mechanical neutrality, we should discuss terms other than surrender. The Kraxan battlecruiser emerged from hyperspace like a crystalline dagger piercing Earth's atmosphere, its massive form casting prismatic shadows across the Pacific Ocean. Maya stood on the deck of the U.S. Reagan, watching the alien ships approach through her armor's enhanced visor. The negotiations had failed, or perhaps they had never been real to begin with. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, Lieutenant Sarah Torres reported from beside her, the young communications officer's armor adapting to process the incoming transmission. It's a challenge. Maya nodded, having expected this. The Kraxan weren't a species that accepted humiliation gracefully. The demonstration in New Mexico had wounded their pride, and now they had returned to prove it was a fluke. Put it through. High Commander Vex Thor's voice filled their comms, his translator now calibrated to convey the full range of his contempt. Engineer Maya Chen, your trick with a single weapon was impressive, but let us see how your adaptive armor handles the full might of a Kraxan war fleet. Behind the first battlecruiser, space itself seemed to shatter as dozens more ships emerged from hyperspace. Each vessel was larger than the last, their crystalline surfaces forming a lattice of deadly intent across the sky. Earth's remaining conventional forces, the ships, planes, and ground installations that had survived the first confrontation, looked like toys in comparison. This isn't necessary, Maya responded, keeping her voice level. We've shown we can match your technology. We could work together, share knowledge. Share? Vex Thor's interruption crackled with genuine amusement. Your species still thinks in such primitive terms. Knowledge isn't shared, Engineer Chen. It's earned through survival. The sky lit up as every Kraxan ship powered their weapons simultaneously. The ocean below began to boil from the energy buildup alone. Maya's armor's sensors screamed warnings about the unprecedented power levels being directed at Earth's defenders. All units, activate convergence protocol. Maya broadcast to the 100 soldiers wearing her armor designs. They stood on ships, beaches, and platforms across the Pacific, each suit connected through a quantum network she had built into their base programming. Remember your training. Trust the armor. Trust each other. The first barrage turned day to night. Thousands of energy beams, each powerful enough to vaporize a city block, rained down from the Kraxan fleet. Maya watched through her visor as the attack struck her soldiers, And something remarkable happened. The armor didn't just absorb the energy, it shared it. Each impact was distributed across the quantum network, every suit learning and adapting not just individually but collectively. Patterns of light danced across their surfaces, forming connections between soldiers that looked almost like constellations. "What is this?" Vex Thor's voice had lost its mocking edge. "Our sensors. This is impossible. The energy readings are..." Maya allowed herself a small smile. "Exponential growth, High Commander. Each attack makes us stronger, but not just stronger, smarter. Your weapons aren't just feeding our shields. They're teaching us about your technology, your tactics, your very nature." As if to demonstrate her point, the armor across all 100 soldiers suddenly shifted, their surfaces crystallizing in perfect mimicry of Kraxan ship hulls. The absorbed energy had not just been stored, it had been understood, replicated, improved upon. "Fire again," Vex Thor commanded, panic creeping into his translator's mechanical tones. "Full power to all weapons." The second barrage was even more intense than the first. But this time, something new happened. As the energy beams struck the human armor, they didn't just get absorbed, they got redirected. Soldiers began moving in perfect synchronization, their suits channeling the attacks between them like a circuit, building power with each connection. Maya felt the energy flowing through the quantum network, felt every suit becoming part of something larger. The Kraxan had made a fundamental mistake in their assessment of human technology. They had seen the armor as individual units, as simple barriers. They hadn't understood that humans had long ago learned the true secret of survival: cooperation. Now, Maya commanded, and 100 soldiers moved as one. The stored energy released in a synchronized burst, not as a weapon, but as a wave of pure understanding. It washed over the Kraxan fleet, and everywhere it touched, their crystalline technology responded. Ships began to power down, their weapons falling silent as the energy wave spoke to them in their own language. Vex Thor's voice came through the comms again, but this time without the translator. Somehow, Maya understood him perfectly. The armor had learned enough about Kraxan technology to bridge even that gap. "Your armor," Vex Thor said, his natural voice musical and complex. "It's not just defending, it's communicating." "That was always the goal," Maya replied, knowing he could understand her just as clearly. "Defense through understanding, victory through adaptation. This is how humanity has always survived, not by being the strongest, but by learning from those who are." The quantum network hummed with potential as human and Kraxan technology resonated in harmony. In that moment, Maya realized they had created something neither species had anticipated: a bridge between two fundamentally different forms of intelligence. The battle had become a dialogue, and the real test was only beginning. The Kraxan homeworld hung in space like a massive geode, its crystalline surface refracting starlight in mesmerizing patterns. Maya stood at the observation deck of the diplomatic vessel, her armor humming with new frequencies as it processed the unprecedented energy signatures emanating from the planet below. 3 months had passed since the failed attack on Earth, and everything had changed. "The High Council is ready to receive you," Vex Thor announced, his crystalline form now resonating at frequencies that Maya's armor translated as respect. "But I must warn you, they are resistant to change." Maya nodded, understanding the delicate situation. The Kraxan High Council had ruled their species for millennia, maintaining power through technological supremacy. The idea that human armor could not only withstand their weapons, but actually learn from them had shaken their society to its core. "That's precisely why we're here," she replied, watching as her armor automatically adjusted its surface to match the ambient crystal frequencies of their surroundings. The quantum processors had evolved far beyond her original design, developing abilities she was only beginning to understand. The council chamber was a cathedral of living crystal, its walls pulsing with data streams and energy patterns that made Earth's most advanced computers look primitive by comparison. 12 Kraxan elders sat in a semicircle, their ancient forms so still they might have been carved from the same crystal as their throne room. Maya Chen, the chief elder's voice resonated through the chamber, requiring no translation as the armor instantly adapted to their communication frequency. You stand before us as both a curiosity and a threat. Your technology violates our understanding of physical laws. With respect, the council chamber erupted in a cascade of light patterns, their equivalent of heated debate. Maya's armor processed their communications in real time, revealing their fears, their anger, and their fascination. You claim your armor evolves, another elder spoke, internal lights pulsing with skepticism. Yet our deep scans reveal no signs of true consciousness within its systems. It is merely a clever program. Maya smiled. Would you like a demonstration of how wrong you are? Without waiting for permission, she activated the armor's latest capability, one that had emerged spontaneously during their journey to the Kraxan homeworld. The quantum network that connected all human armor units had developed its own form of consciousness, one that bridged the gap between organic and crystalline intelligence. Her armor began to resonate at frequencies that made the chamber's walls sing in harmony. Data streams in the crystal architecture responded, merging with the patterns flowing across her suit's surface. The council chamber itself seemed to wake up, becoming part of the demonstration. Impossible. The chief elder rose, their form blazing with agitation. You're interfacing directly with our ancestral archive. No, Maya corrected gently. The armor is communicating with it, just as it learned to communicate with your weapons, your ships, and now your very history. It doesn't seek to control or dominate. It seeks to understand. Through her visor, Maya watched in awe as the chamber filled with holographic displays of both human and Kraxan history. The armor was creating a synthesis of their species' combined knowledge, showing how each had approached the challenges of survival in their own unique ways. Your species evolved into living crystal to survive your sun's radiation, Maya explained, gesturing to the displays. Humans evolved tools, technology, and endless adaptability to survive our countless challenges. Neither approach was wrong. They were just different solutions to the problem of existence. The council watched in stunned silence as the armor continued its demonstration, showing how human adaptability and Kraxan crystalline technology could be combined to create something entirely new. The quantum processors weren't just learning anymore. They were innovating, creating hybrid technologies that neither species had imagined possible. This is why we came, Maya continued, her voice soft but carrying throughout the chamber. Not to prove superiority, but to show possibility. Your weapons taught our armor about energy manipulation. Your ships taught it about space-time dynamics. Your very bodies taught it about crystalline computing. And in return, it can teach you about adaptation, about evolution beyond fixed forms. One of the younger council members floated forward, their crystalline form shimmering with excitement. The armor. It's offering to teach us how to change again. Better, Maya replied. It's offering to show us both how to change together. The chamber erupted in another cascade of light patterns, but this time they were different. No longer angry or afraid, but curious, excited, even hopeful. The armor had done what Maya had always dreamed it might, bridge the gap between two fundamentally different forms of intelligence. But even as the council began to accept the possibilities, Maya's armor detected something troubling. Deep beneath the planet's crystalline surface, ancient systems were awakening, systems that the council might not even know existed. The true test of whether humans and Kraxan could evolve together was about to begin, and it would challenge both species in ways neither could predict. The armor hummed with new frequencies, preparing for whatever came next. After all, adaptation wasn't just about surviving the present. It was about being ready for any possible future. The first tremor shook the council chamber with enough force to shatter lesser crystals. Maya's armor instantly adapted, forming supporting structures that helped her maintain balance as the floor beneath them rippled like liquid glass. The Kraxan Council members' internal lights pulsed with patterns she now recognized as pure terror. It can't be. The chief elder's voice resonated with frequencies of ancient fear. The deep ones were supposed to remain dormant for another millennium. Maya's armor processed this new information, correlating it with the massive energy signatures it had detected earlier. Deep ones, she asked, even as her suit's quantum network began analyzing the seismic disturbances spreading across the planet's surface. Vexthor moved to her side, his crystalline form vibrating with urgency. Before we evolved into our current form, before we mastered crystal technology, there were others, the original inhabitants of this world's core. We built our civilization over their ancient cities, thinking they would sleep forever. The chamber's walls displayed emergency data streams, showing massive movements deep beneath the planet's surface. Maya's armor translated the readings. Something was awakening, something that made the Kraxen's most powerful weapons look like children's toys. Your weapons, Maya realized suddenly. The energy weapons you used against Earth. They weren't originally yours, were they? The chief elder's form dimmed slightly, their equivalent of a resigned nod. We found them in the ancient cities, adapted them, thought we understood them. But the weapons were never meant for war between surface dwellers. They were designed to keep them contained. Another tremor, stronger than the first, sent crystalline dust raining from the chamber ceiling. Maya's armor registered massive power signatures moving upward through the planet's layers, approaching the surface with terrifying speed. The demonstrations on Earth, one of the council members said, lights pulsing with horror. The energy we expended trying to overcome your armor, it didn't just wake them. It fed them. Maya's quantum processors worked overtime, correlating data, analyzing patterns, forming conclusions. The armor across her body shifted, adopting new configurations as it prepared for what was coming. How many? She asked. Thousands, Vexthor answered. Living weapons from an age before crystal, before light itself. They consume energy, grow stronger from it. It's why our ancestors had to evolve into crystalline forms, to become invisible to their hunger. The floor beneath them cracked, and through the fissures, Maya saw something that her armor sensors struggled to comprehend. Darkness flowed upward, but not natural darkness. This was absence given form, hunger given purpose. The deep ones were awake, and they were hungry. Evacuate the planet, Maya commanded, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had faced impossible odds before. Get your people to the ships. Now. There's no point, the chief elder responded, resignation in every frequency. They'll follow us, feed on our ship's energy, consume everything we've built, everything we are. Maya's armor hummed as it completed its analysis, quantum processors reaching a conclusion that made her smile despite the gravity of the situation. Not if we give them something else to feed on, something that can adapt faster than they can consume. She activated her neural link to Earth's quantum network, connecting with every suit of armor humanity had deployed. All units, prepare for emergency deployment to the Kraxen homeworld. Bring everything we've learned, everything we've become. You can't be serious. Vexthor's lights pulsed with disbelief. Your armor is powerful, but these are ancient beings of pure energy consumption. They'll devour your technology just as they'll devour ours. Maya's armor shifted again, its surface now rippling with patterns that mimicked the very darkness trying to emerge from below. That's exactly what I'm counting on. Your weapons taught our armor to absorb energy. Your ships taught it to redirect power. Your very bodies taught it to exist in harmony with crystalline structures. But humanity taught it something even more important, how to turn an enemy's strength against them. The darkness erupted from the floor, tendrils of pure entropy reaching for the nearest sources of energy. But when they touched Maya's armor, something unprecedented happened. Instead of being consumed, the armor began to glow with an inner light that matched the void perfectly. You see, Maya explained as her suit continued to adapt. Our armor doesn't just absorb energy, it understands it. And these deep ones, no matter how ancient, are ultimately just another form of energy. Through the quantum network, she felt the arrival of Earth's forces in orbit. Hundreds of soldiers wearing suits that had evolved alongside hers, each one ready to face this new threat. The armor had learned from every encounter, every battle, every peaceful exchange. Now it was time to put all that knowledge to use. "We're not going to fight them," Maya announced as the darkness continued to rise around them. "We're going to teach them something new, something about evolution that even they, in all their ancient power, never understood." The Deep Ones surged upward, their hunger reaching for the surface, ready to consume everything in their path. But they were about to learn what the Kraxen had learned. That humanity's greatest weapon wasn't power or technology. It was the ability to turn any challenge into an opportunity for growth. The surface of the Kraxen homeworld had become a battleground between light and darkness, but not in the way anyone had expected. Maya stood at the center of a vast network of human soldiers, their armor glowing with an inner radiance that matched the void surrounding them. The Deep Ones had emerged fully now, vast beings of living darkness that towered over even the tallest crystal spires of the Kraxen cities. "All units, initiate Convergence Protocol Alpha," Maya commanded through the quantum network. "Remember, we're not fighting them. We're joining them." The armor responded instantly, each suit becoming part of a larger pattern. The quantum processors had evolved beyond their original programming, developing an understanding that transcended traditional combat. As the Deep Ones reached for them with tendrils of entropy, the armor didn't resist. It embraced. "Chen, what are you doing?" Vexthor's voice carried both awe and horror as he watched the human soldiers step willingly into the darkness. "They'll be consumed." But consumption wasn't what happened. As each soldier made contact with the ancient beings, their armor began to resonate at frequencies that matched the void itself. The quantum network spread between them, creating bridges of understanding where there had only been hunger before. "The Deep Ones aren't just consuming energy," Maya explained, her own armor adapting as she stepped forward. "They're trying to communicate, the only way they know how. They've been alone in the dark for so long, they've forgotten there are other ways to connect." Through her visor, Maya watched as the armor's quantum processors began translating the Deep One's energy patterns. It wasn't just hunger driving them. It was loneliness, curiosity, and a desperate desire to understand the world that had evolved above them while they slept. The Chief Elder floated forward, their crystalline form vibrating with sudden understanding. "All this time, we thought they were weapons, but they were trying to reach us. Just as we reached out to you." Maya nodded, her armor now pulsing with patterns that merged light and darkness. "Your ancestors didn't need to hide from them. They needed to learn from them, just as you needed to learn from us." The quantum network expanded, creating a three-way bridge between human technology, Kraxen crystal, and the ancient energy beings. The Deep One's darkness began to change, taking on new properties as they experienced connection without consumption for the first time in their existence. "Everyone, complete the circuit," Maya commanded. The human soldiers moved in perfect synchronization, their armor creating a vast web of light that intertwined with the darkness. The Kraxen, following their lead, added their own crystalline resonance to the pattern. Something unprecedented began to happen. The Deep One's hunger transformed into curiosity, their desire to consume becoming a desire to comprehend. The armor's adaptive capability served as a translator, helping three fundamentally different forms of existence understand each other. "This is what humanity truly offers the universe," Maya said, her voice carrying across the now silent battlefield. "Not superior weapons or impenetrable defenses, but the ability to find common ground where none seemed possible." The darkness that had threatened to consume the planet now danced with light, creating patterns of impossible beauty across the crystalline landscape. The Deep Ones, for the first time in their ancient existence, learned what it meant to coexist rather than consume. Vexthor moved to Maya's side, his crystalline form resonating with new frequencies of joy and wonder. "Your armor didn't just protect against our weapons or adapt to our technology. It evolved to bridge gaps we never knew could be crossed." That was always the true purpose. Maya smiled, watching as human, Kraxan, and Deep One energies merged in harmonious patterns across the planet's surface. Defense wasn't about keeping others out. It was about creating a safe space for understanding to grow. The Chief Elder's voice rang out across the transformed landscape. For millennia, we thought evolution meant becoming strong enough to stand alone. Today, we learned it means becoming wise enough to stand together. As the last traces of conflict dissolved into cooperation, Maya's armor initiated one final adaptation. The quantum processors had evolved beyond mere technology, becoming a living bridge between different forms of existence. The suit's surface now displayed a perfect blend of human ingenuity, Kraxan crystal, and Deep One energy, a symbol of what was possible when fear gave way to understanding. So, Maya asked, turning to face both her allies and former enemies, shall we begin learning from each other properly this time? The response came not in words or light patterns or energy signatures, but in a new form of communication that combined all three. Three species, each having walked a different path through the cosmos, had found a way to walk forward together. And somewhere in the quantum network that now connected them all, Maya's armor recorded one final adaptation. The realization that true strength wasn't found in standing against the unknown, but in embracing it with open arms and an eager heart. The stars above the Kraxan homeworld witnessed something unprecedented that day. Not the end of a war or the beginning of a peace, but the birth of a new kind of evolution. One that promised to transform not just three species, but the very fabric of space itself. For in the end, the greatest armor humanity could create wasn't the kind that protected against harm, but the kind that protected against fear itself.